Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Kris. This is History Rebels. They came out with the new one, The Road to Yorktown, 1781. Before we get started, if you can click that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Click on the thanks button if you want to donate to the channel. Give me a second. I want to fix the lighting. Okay. Sometimes I don't know what the deal is. Sometimes the lights are just too bright when I turn them on, but I never adjust them. So go figure that. So anyways, we'll break this down into two parts. This is Eutaw Springs, 1781, how the Southern War collapsed before Yorktown. Okay, this will be two parts, and let's get into it.
It is the 31st of August, 1781. British General Charles Cornwallis looks out from his growing fortifications at Yorktown, across the broad waters of the Chesapeake Bay. In front of him lies an imposing sight: a French fleet, newly arrived and anchoring offshore. The presence of so many ships is alarming, but Cornwallis remains calm. He is dug in well on a peninsula, and his avenue for escape remains wide open, with just a small continental force under the Marquis de Lafayette behind him. Yet within his camp, doubts and rumours are starting to spread. Colonel Bannister Tarleton and other senior officers press their general to strike out now and move inland. Cornwallis, however, hesitates. His commander-in-chief in New York, General Sir Henry Clinton, has promised reinforcements.
Yeah, he can't move because if the reinforcements show up and they get blocked out, which he doesn't think they probably would, but if they're able to get in and they unload, then the French fleet can come in, block them from leaving, or even prevent them from coming in. But he can't risk that. He has to stay because he believes Henry Clinton is going to send people. Henry Clinton is on a wild goose chase, though, believing that there's going to be an attack somewhere else, which I don't think Cornwallis knows that. I don't remember if those two got along or not. I think they did. I don't remember.
And although he reassures himself that he can leave at any time, where would he go? Thanks to Continental General Greene, marching back south is no longer an option. And so, for now at least, Cornwallis resolves to stay at Yorktown. As British, German, and Loyalist soldiers dig trenches day and night in the shadows of a growing enemy fleet, many may have started to nervously ask themselves, how did it come to this? And now, a little detour. This segment comes via a paid partnership with BetterHelp. I've joked with some of you before about what a rabbit hole making these videos can be. Working alone, I obsess over small details, bury myself in the 18th century, and suddenly a whole week has flown comfortable. Oceans became less, felt safer, easier, or unbiased as soon as at no extra without a 0.3 rating on to try /. Thanks again to BetterHelp for partnering on this video. 5 months earlier, in late March 1781, General Nathaniel Greene's Continental Army, although defeated at Guilford Courthouse, remains intact and in good spirits. Cornwallis rests in Wilmington after a bruising campaign that has left his army diminished. By ignoring orders from Clinton months earlier, Cornwallis had recently learned that.
Let me just move out of the way here. British Forces South Field Army, 4,500 to 1,500, October 1780. Oh, okay. I got it. Sorry. Okay. After the battles, he was losing men, yeah. So he lost 1,000 at Kings Mountain, 1,000 after Cow Pens, and another 1,000 at Guilford Courthouse. So is this what he started out with? He started out with 6,000 to 8,000? Or did he start out with... I don't know.
The hard way what many other British commanders already understood about the war in North America, that marching inland, chasing rebel armies, leads to ruin. Greene suspects that Cornwallis is now planning a move into Virginia, the largest and richest colony in North America. With that hunch, he plans a shrewd, strategic move. Instead of following Cornwallis, Greene pivots and quickly starts moving south. This leaves Cornwallis in an impossible position. His southern garrisons are vulnerable and already fighting a brutal civil and partisan war. He must either continue to chase Greene in a costly and possibly futile campaign, or shift to a new theatre and strategy, but thereby risking control of the South. Convinced the war cannot be won in the Carolinas, and frustrated by his lack of progress so far, Cornwallis chooses a fresh start and prepares, as Greene anticipated, a move into Virginia. Even without Cornwallis chasing him, Greene's hopes of retaking the South are still precarious. He has some 2,600 men and can rely on perhaps 4,000 local partisans. They face some 8,000.
Sorry, I didn't get to finish reading that. Field army fluctuating, yeah. If they're losing, people are leaving, and if they're winning, people are willing to join. Less than 1,000 after Camden. August 8. 6 months later. Excuse me. 6 months later, got it up to 4,400. So he gained 34. Then he lost 18. Key formations being led by Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox, Thomas Sumter, and Andrew Pickens. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't know if I said key formations or if I said key informants. It's one of those days.
1,000 local partisans. They face some 8,000 British regulars, provincials, and local loyalist militias. The civil war in the South is in a brutal stalemate, with increasingly cruel actions from both sides. The British hold a string of forts in an attempt to pacify the territory, while Patriot partisans control much of the backcountry. Greene makes his presence known almost immediately. In early April, they seize the first British position at Fort Watson, building a medieval-like tower to shoot over the walls. The fort and its 130 loyalist defenders are quickly captured. British command of the South has fallen to a 26-year-old Irishman, Lieutenant Colonel Lord Rawdon. And now, alerted to Greene's presence, he has no intention of waiting passively behind the safety of palisade walls. On the 25th of April, Rawdon leads 900 soldiers quietly through the woods and towards Greene's force of 1,500 unsuspecting men camped on Hobkirk's Hill. Greene's army, still cooking breakfast, soon scrambled to form battle lines. As the British slowly move up the hill, Greene plans to use his numbers to envelop Rawdon and orders regiments to move against the British flanks, while William Washington's cavalry is sent to their rear. The initially confident British advance suddenly looks vulnerable, as canister shots rain down on them from artillery in the center. the British line starts to falter and victory is almost within reach for the Continentals. But in the attack, the 1st and 2nd Maryland regiments are suddenly shaken as several of their commanding officers, including a colonel, are struck down. The Marylanders, pausing in disorder, are then charged by Rawdon's Volunteers of Ireland and put to flight. The tide of battle has turned in an instant, and Greene, lightly furious, is forced to withdraw from the field. Although a minor British victory, Rawdon is still in a difficult position, and he starts consolidating his forces. He abandons smaller outposts and then Camden itself. Although a tactically sound decision, it proves once again to local loyalists that the British cannot be relied upon to hold positions and protect their homes, and many start to desert. The Battle of Hobkirk's Hill has been a setback for Greene.
That is one thing that would suck when you're a loyalist and you feel like I'm working with the British, right, to keep this country. Something happens, a battle. They win, they lose, but then they just leave. And now you're stuck. Can I go with them? Are they coming back? If I leave to go with them, will my house get burned down? If I stay here and hope they come back, will I be killed? It's just such a bad position to be in. Now, we're looking at it from the point of view of we won the war, so, you know, how dare they choose that side? But it's still just one of those things that it's just not fair in terms of war when people are forced to pick a side, and no matter what side they pick, they feel like they're wrong. And if they're neutral, then both sides are going to come at them at some aspect, you know, whether it be to take crops from them or to use their home or something. They're not protected by either or, and no one's going to respect the neutrality aspect, so they're going to get stomped on by anyone. It was a bad time.
But he is able to hang on to the strategic initiative. His forces are moving faster than the British expect, and partisan leaders, including Francis Marion and Thomas Sumter, strike with almost impunity against Forts Granby, Orangeburg, Mott, and Georgetown, all of which are captured in lightning assaults along with hundreds of British regulars and loyalists. By mid-May, Rawdon is left reeling by the speed of Greene's advance. Outside of Charlestown and Savannah, they have just two major forts left, at Augusta and 96. At Augusta, Andrew Pickens and Light Horse Harry Lee attack three loyalist fortifications garrisoned by some 600 men. After weeks of fighting and no hope of relief, one by one the forts start to capitulate. One of the garrisons and its hated loyalist commander are put to the sword and refused quarter. Such is the ferocity of the fighting in the south. At 96, Greene now attacks the most notorious British stronghold in South Carolina, a well-constructed, star-shaped fortress with a determined and mostly local garrison. As the siege progresses, word finally arrives of Rawdon's whereabouts. The British, after collecting reinforcements at Charlestown, were at last back on the march and on their way to relieve the fort. Greene decides to make a final assault before Rawdon's arrival. With hooks and ladders, his men storm the fort on the 18th of June. Sandbags and parapets are pulled down as the defences are slowly breached. The attack looks poised to succeed, until men from New York and New Jersey counterattack. After a bloody struggle with bayonets, entrenchment tools, and muskets used as clubs, the attack is barely repelled. Greene abandons the siege shortly after, allowing Rawdon to evacuate the garrison to Charlestown. With the fort at 96 promptly burnt by the British, with it goes their last stronghold outside of the two coastal cities. The campaign so far has been a disaster for the British and Loyalist cause, who now mostly reside behind the safety of city walls. To keep supplies flowing into Charlestown and maintain a symbolic presence in the countryside, the British station their last mobile force at Eutaw Springs. In the early hours of September 8th, Greene's army of 2,400 men approached the British camp, 2,000 strong. Greene and the Continentals are confident and unusually on the offensive against the British field army. Their first line consists of militia, with Continentals behind them. They are soon at British Commander Colonel Stewart's line, and to Greene's delight, his militia fight well, even receiving British bayonet charges without retreating.
The fact that the British would charge in the middle of a shooting fight with bayonets fixed means they're crazy. The fact that the people who are shooting and then having people charge at you with the bayonet and you don't flee is crazy. One is, bound to break. You got to be pretty close too to just decide, hey, this unit, we're just going to charge with bayonets, and to not have anyone flee. Whew. That's balls of steel, my friends.
In well-executed battlefield maneuvers, the militia eventually withdraws in good order, being replaced by Continental regulars at the front. The fighting is soon intense across the battlefield. The British are hard pressed and begin to...
It just sunk in that was militia that didn't flee. Wow, props to them for actually standing there and taking that. Because they're looking at themselves as not equal. Even the Continentals don't feel like they're on the same level as the British. So to have stood there and went toe-to-toe with a bayonet charge and your militia, that's pretty impressive. That probably falls to Greene and on all the other people to not allow them to flee. That's impressive to me.
break on their left. Soon the entire army is falling back. But it is not a rout, and a new line is formed, anchoring itself around a house occupied by loyalists barricaded inside. The situation is becoming dire for Stuart, and his men desperately cling on. Greene, to seal his victory, sends William Washington's cavalry to sweep through the British right flank and then into their rear. But protected by hedges, the British are able to repulse the dragoons, inflicting heavy losses, including Washington himself, who is promptly captured. In the centre, the British have withdrawn behind their camp. As the Continentals advance through the tents, the temptation to loot becomes too great, and men start to fall out of line to take what they can. As the Continental centre falls into disarray, Light Horse Harry Lee's legion attempts to storm the barricaded house at bayonet point. In bloody close-quarter fighting at doors and windows, the loyalists inside fight for their lives. Continental cannons are soon brought up to turn the tide and batter the house. But the crews move too far forward and start to take heavy casualties from musket fire in the top windows. At this critical moment, the British have rallied on the flanks and now start to counterattack. With both armies exhausted and the Continental centre in chaos, the British charge is able to shift the balance in their favour. And just like at Hobkirk's Hill, victory is snatched away from the Continentals. Greene, to save his army, soon orders a general retreat.
It's the looting that always gets you. Had the men not been looting, and this is an issue that goes back throughout history of warfare, really, when you raid the other people's camp, there's always going to be people who forget. Well, they don't forget. They're just stupid and disregard what's happening and figure, oh, I can get something good. Yeah, you can also get shot. And when something like this happens, when you should have won, and now you're running in retreat, you should be punished. Like, executed. You know, the people who lead those groups should be executed.
The battle is especially costly for the British, who take higher and irreplaceable losses. Without the strength to follow Greene, the countryside is finally and completely abandoned, and British forces are fully withdrawn to the safety of Savannah and Charlestown. For Greene, despite not winning a major engagement on the field, through his speed, organisation and persistence, he has successfully recaptured the majority of the Carolinas and Georgia in just a matter of months. All British hopes of holding significant amounts of territory in the south have been crushed. And critically, by September, Cornwallis now has no nearby friendly territory to move into from Yorktown. By 1781, the war for the British has become global. Well-executed American diplomacy, combined with the irresistible opportunity to settle old scores, has led the Dutch and Spanish to join the Franco-American cause, while many other European powers form a league of armed neutrality, isolating Britain both diplomatically and economically on the continent. In Europe, the British fend off threats directly against their own shores from Allied naval squadrons that mass off the coast, including an armada in 1779. After a French landing on the Channel Island of Jersey is repulsed, the threat of invasion feels all too real for many in London. Further south, the Spanish land 14,000 troops on British-held Minorca, while besieging Britain's most important possession in the Mediterranean, the fortress peninsula of Gibraltar.
Yeah, they still hold Gibraltar. And I did a video on that, and there was a couple of people that were, I said, hopefully one day the UK will turn it back over to Spain. Man, the backlash I got for that. It's ours now. They don't want it. Okay, sorry. It just seems like it's not in your country, but okay. All right. Okay, we're going to end this here. This is part 1. We will be back with part 2 to finish out this video. So, hang on. Wait for it. The video, I mean. And until next time, have a good day, have a good night.